Okay, so to begin, question one of scenario one is asking when did Matter lose the deal? Now, I believe that they lost the deal on May 25th. On this day, they came in with a second price for Hamilco at 1.15 million, and Hamilco was still not impressed with the price that we offered and couldn't understand as to why we couldn't match competitor pricing. Now, even though this is the day I believe that we couldn't have done anything to salvage the deal, I believe that there was three main things that happened that ultimately led to us losing this deal with Hamilco. The first being is Matterite never spoke with two of the five members of the decision-making unit, those being the production manager and the safety manager. Now, it's crucial to always meet with every member of the decision-making unit as you get a better understanding for what they want and you can better communicate what your service and software offers. Specifically, these two members of the decision-making unit probably would have been the most pleased to hear what we had to offer. As mentioned in the case, Matterite software generates up to 30% more in savings over the nearest competitor software. And a key problem with competitor software was the unreliability due to software glitches, which doesn't happen with Matterite software. So cost savings and enhanced reliability were the two main things that the production manager was looking for, and we could have provided him with that positive information that our software can provide them with that. In terms of the safety manager, he would have liked the pitch because our software is also much safer for staff use than competitors, and his main priority is making sure his workers are safe when they're using the software they're going to implement. For the second main reason, it was the fact that Matterite was reached out to by Hamilco and not the other way around. So Hamilco was already in the third level of pain, that being the vision of a solution. Ideally, as a salesperson, you want to get in during the latent pain stage where the buyer's not actively looking for a solution, as it would have enabled Matterite to help Hamilco through every stage of the buying process and tailor their product to Hamilco's needs, and most importantly, build trust with the members of the decision-making unit at Hamilco. The third main reason I would say the deal was lost was the inconsistency of communication that Matterite had with Hamilco. At the start of the buying process, yes, we communicated frequently with Hamilco, but as we moved along a couple of weeks, there would be 5-day to week-long gaps with no communication. If we want to make a positive impression on Hamilco, especially after having some negative interactions with them, we want to show that we're actively trying to solve their solution and work out a deal with them. Question two, there's four main insights that I believe the salesperson should have uncovered before progressing too far into this deal. The first being meeting with everyone involved in the buying process. Second, how much time and resources should we invest in this deal? And three, understanding the need of the customer and if our service matches that need. And then four, determining the budget of the customer. Now, the first two insights, the first one I touched on before, meeting with everyone involved in the decision-making unit is crucial as it enables you to gain a better understanding of what the company desires. And meeting with these members helps develop trust with the company. This was something that was never really established between Matterite and Hamilco, as we only met with 3 of the members of the decision-making unit and 2 had negative experiences and negative interactions. The second being how much time and resources do we invest in this deal? Now, Matterite's a small sales team, and a deal of this size requires a lot of time and resources. In order to determine if it's worth deploying these resources for Hamilco, we have to assess where they're at the buying stage and do we have a true shot. Hamilco had already determined their problem and were in the middle of identifying different suppliers. When we found out about this should have been the first idea that maybe it's not worth investing all these time and resources into this deal. To move on to the third and fourth insights that they should have uncovered was understanding the need of the customer. Now, I believe we did do this. We did have multiple conversations with Hamilco on what they're looking for, but within those conversations, we also found out that a competitor's product is better suited for them. Now, it's important to understand the exact solution Hamilco was looking for, and we believe that we understood that, but determining that our product matches their problems in our eyes compared to them having a competitor matching their eyes is something that should have made us further think maybe it's time to remove ourselves from this deal. The final reason, which should have been uncovered significantly earlier than it was, is the budget of Hamilco. The salesperson could have asked what Hamilco's maximum budget was, what price range they were relatively looking for within the first one or two interactions. As by asking them this, we could have determined that our price is well above what they were looking to spend and not deploy any more time and resources into the deal and not go any further. Now, question 3, highlighting the different stages in the selling actions that we took. The first one that I uncovered was on May 8th, where we showed Martin Duluth some of Matterite's software manuals and discussed some specifications. Now, I believe we were aligned in this process because Hamilco was in the requirements description stage of the buying process, and we provided them with the information on what our company can do for them. Now, however, even though we were aligned, this did have a negative effect as Duluth was not very impressed with the software manuals we provided them and thought that competitor software better fit their need. On May 11th, there was another selling action that took place where we gave Dr. Miller 3 main reasons why Hamilco should buy from Matterite. Again, I would say we were aligned in this moment as Hamilco's in the getting proposals stage of the buying process. However, and we provided them with why our software is superior to the competitors. I believe this had a positive effect as Dr. Miller seemed pleased with the information we provided and went out of his way to suggest that we should continue to speak with other members of the decision-making unit. On May 13th was another selling action where we discussed technical features with Mel Barrow, who then asked for a price. I would say we weren't aligned in this process as Mel was at the stage of taking in prices and quotes on a potential deal, and Matterite was not prepared to give a quote. This had a negative effect as we should have been prepared with, at the very least, a rough estimate of what our services would cost. And after talking to them for a week and not being able to give them a price, overall would have a negative impression. And then May 25th to June 4th, I would say, is a selling action all in all, as we kind of went through a negotiation phase here with Hamilco. I would say we aren't aligned at this point, as Hamilco had already asked for a price from us a week prior. They had received pricing from competitors, and they're at this point where they're ready to select a supplier. Furthermore, negative effect on the overall relationship as we only slightly reduced our price by 50,000 to 1.15 million, where competitor pricing was below $1 million, and they had already thought that a competitor's service is better aligned with what their needs are. If we wanted a shot to be able to do this, we would have needed to significantly lower the price a bit more. Now, moving on to scenario 2A. When looking at the types of organizations that LaRue typically supplies, it's clear that they're broken down into 5 sectors: small and large non-for-profit organizations, municipal government organizations, and then provincial and federal government organizations. Now, to start with the small non-for-profit organizations, the buying needs of this company will typically be pretty straightforward. They're going to want something that's cost effective, able to track the donor process and level of engagement from partners, and something that's easy to put in place. The buying process is going to be pretty straightforward. You're going to have to identify the needs of the buyer and provide a solution. There's not going to be that much extensive back and forth. The decision-making unit's probably going to be only one person in a small organization like this, probably the COO or the CEO. And I would say this is a pretty attractive opportunity because it's not going to take a lot of time and resources to achieve. A large non-for-profit organization, on the other hand, they're going to want similar things as the small organization, like cost-effective back office systems. They want to track their donor processes as well. And they're also probably going to want consistent updates on initiatives and events because they'll probably be running more frequent events. However, this buying process is going to be a lot more extensive communication between both sides, as they're probably going to have more problems and more desires that they would like to have implemented. And you're going to need to work to build an envisioned solution that's customized to them. Their DMU will probably be around 3 to 5 people with a COO and other senior executives. This again is a very attractive opportunity to be able to acquire a large corporation under the umbrella of your services. A municipal government organization is going to want high level of cybersecurity. They're going to want to be able to track their citizen engagement, and they're going to want something that's easy to put in place. Again, similar to a small non-for-profit, they're not going to have that much funding and resources to be able to put into a system. So it's going to be a straightforward process and a probably very basic system that achieves the basic needs they have. And the DMU is probably only going to be 1 to 2 people you're communicating with. This is attractive as it's not going to be as complicated as a provincial and federal system that's going to need to be put in place. So provincial and federal government organizations, again, are also going to want a high level of cybersecurity. And they're going to want to track citizen engagement as well. But again, they're on a much larger scale. It's probably going to need to be accessible from multiple locations. And during that buying process, they're going to have a lot more resources to be able to put forward to this. And it's going to be extensive communication between the two parties, identifying the problems they have, what they would like to see, and work together to build that customized solution. The DMU for the provincial government's probably going to be around 2 to 4 government executives, whereas the federal one might be slightly bigger, probably north of 5 people you're going to be communicating with. And I personally believe that these are not that attractive of a situation just because there's going to be a lot of approval needed by a government organization, and it'll take a very long time to finish this deal. Now, in terms of the types of relationships, the small non-for-profit is a pure transactional relationship. It's going to be a standard, typical approach, as they're going to want something that is convenient and easy to put in place. This could be executed, honestly, on an e-commerce website and could be done fairly quickly. A large non-for-profit is probably going to have a partner relationship, as you're going to need to spend a decent amount of time working with the organization in order to discover what they're exactly looking for and how to customize this system to meet the needs of the organization. This is going to need to be executed through a sales team and senior executives on both sides involved. Municipal government, again, is also a transactional relationship, as it's going to be a pretty standard approach. They're not going to have a big budget. They're going to want something that's cheaper and quickly implemented so that they can start to reap the rewards. This will also could probably be done on an e-commerce website because it's not going to need to be that customized. There's not going to be that many communication lines between people on both sides. The provincial and federal government organizations are more collaborative relationships, as both are going to need extensive time spent identifying the needs and desires of the companies. That's probably going to take over a year to figure out what the organizations want and how we tailor the system to fit that solution they envisioned. These are going to be larger scale sales teams, and you're going to be constantly talking with senior executives on both sides as you work through what the solution is. Moving on to question 2B, I believe that the sales issues that Deer Creek is facing boil down to 4 main issues: the intense competition they're facing in the marketplace, the high base salary that they pay their sales reps, the need for training that a large portion of their sales reps require, and a structural problem in how they deal with buyers. The intense competition in the marketplace largely comes down to the fact that there are 2 major international players that entered the Canadian market and are offering significantly lower prices than Deer Creek in order to gain that market share. Customers are also grouping together to get discounted prices, which also doesn't help the landscape of the marketplace when trying to hit that $28 million sales quota for the year. I believe the best solution is shifting the geographic areas of focus for Deer Creek to areas where their competitors are less prevalent in. The high base salary of their sales reps at $75K is an issue, but there's not much we can do about it. The average salary of a sales rep is around $60K based on the research I've done, and $75K is well above that, so they may be less inclined to hit their quotas because they're making good money. I believe that the best way to solve this is changing the year-end bonus to a personal quota, not an overall company target, as it may motivate people more to hit their year-end quotas. Assuming we fired 4 of the underperforming sales reps, 50% of our sales reps remaining are still below their halfway mark quotas. We need to identify what areas they're struggling in, and whether that's through sales managers sitting in on the calls or customer service surveys. We can then tailor training specific to the areas they're struggling in, not a generalized program. And then the structural problem surrounding Deer Creek is a sales rep can be dealing with large clients and small ones. This could lead to sales reps prioritizing the bigger clients to get closer to their quotas and letting the smaller deals slip through the cracks or not putting a lot of detail into them. I believe organizing the sales reps so that the size of their clients they deal with are all similar is the best way to have every client treated equally in order to secure smaller sales. Now, the risks surrounding it, I understand moving to a new geographic area could very well end up being that there's not enough demand in those areas that the competitors are not as prevalent in. And removing sales reps from existing regions could lead to permanent loss of presence. But there needs to be some sort of change in this aspect. The high base salary, as mentioned, you can't touch their base salary because with the intense recruitment going on within the industry, it could lead to sales reps jumping ship. But adjusting the bonus at the year end, I believe, mitigates this risk and just motivates these sales reps. Investing money in training will not help the current financial situation as we're trying to hit revenue, and training doesn't also guarantee more sales, as the struggles could largely be due just because of the intense marketplace and the structural problem they're facing. A sales rep could see it as a demotion, only dealing with smaller clients. Some may want to leave the company, but I believe if you reduce the quotas of these sales reps who are now dealing with just purely smaller clients, it will mitigate this risk. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.